So, what's the real secret to getting thousands of people to act as one, especially when a crisis hits? Well, it all boils down to a clear and powerful purpose. Today, we're going to break down the third and final skill from the Culture Code and figure out exactly how to build it. Hey everyone, and welcome to our fun little study group for PP 5361, Theory and Management of Public Service Organizations. Today, we're digging into the required readings from the Culture Code, chapters 13 through 16, which are all about Skill 3, Establish Purpose. All right, let's dive in. We're kicking things off with a story about one of the most famous corporate crises in history, where a company's very survival, believe it or not, came down to just 311 words on a piece of paper. So this all starts back in 1975. The president of Johnson & Johnson, James Burke, calls a big meeting, and his goal? To really challenge the company's 32-year-old mission statement, their credo. You see, a lot of the newer folks thought it was just some fluffy PR piece, and Burke wanted to know if it actually still meant anything. After a full day of pretty intense debate, they all decided to recommit to it. They had absolutely no idea how soon that decision would be put to the ultimate test. Flash forward 7 years and disastrous strikes. Tylenol capsules laced with cyanide kill 7 people. And panic, I mean real panic, just sweeps the country. Johnson & Johnson was caught completely flat-footed. They didn't even have a public affairs division. The company was in an absolute freefall, and pretty much everyone assumed the Tylenol brand was toast. Now, the FBI and the FDA, they told the company to do a limited recall, just in Chicago, to avoid more panic and, frankly, to save money. But Burke and his team, they made a totally different call. And it was a call that would cost them a staggering $100 million. Instead of a limited recall, they decided to pull every single bottle of Tylenol off of every single shelf in the entire country. That's 31 million bottles. This was a massive, completely unprecedented move, and they did it against the advice of federal authorities. So why? Why would they do that? When people asked Burke, he didn't give a complex financial reason. He gave just one. He pointed to the very first line of the company's credo, that same 311-word document they had recommitted to 7 years earlier. In a moment of total chaos, that one sentence became their North Star, guiding thousands of people to make good decisions. Okay, the Tylenol story is just incredible, but how? How can a few words have that much power? Well, it's not magic, so let's get into the science of how a simple story can literally guide a group's behavior. So here's the thing, that power, that ability to act as one, it doesn't just magically live inside the document itself. It's about the environment that the document helps to create. It's all about intentional design. You see, highly successful groups create what the author calls high-purpose environments. And the big idea here, the really crucial part, is that purpose isn't some, mystical thing you just feel. Nope, it's built. You construct it piece by piece with a constant stream of small, vivid signals that connect what we're doing right now to the bigger goal we're all trying to reach. And check out this analogy from nature. It illustrates the idea perfectly. A starling murmuration, when thousands of birds fly together, it looks like one single intelligent creature, but there's no leader, there's no telepathy. It works because each individual bird is just relentlessly focused on tracking the 6 or 7 birds closest to it. It's this breathtakingly complex, super intelligent group behavior, and it all comes from one simple local rule. And it turns out our brains are kind of hardwired for this stuff. There's a technique called mental contrasting, and it shows that it's not enough to just dream about a goal. When you also vividly picture the real obstacles in your way, your motivation just skyrockets. It creates this powerful mental map from here to there. Okay, so how does this actually play out in the real world? We're going to look at 2 completely different stories. We're talking soccer hooligans and surgeons that show just how powerful these little purpose-driven signals can be. Yeah, on one hand, we've got a social psychologist who figured out how to tame some of the world's most violent soccer fans. And on the other, a researcher who dug into why some surgical teams learn way, way faster than others. So, a Harvard researcher named Amy Edmondson studied 16 surgical teams learning a new, really difficult heart procedure. Now look, on paper, the team from Chelsea Hospital should have crushed it. They had the world-class expert, the fancy reputation, everything. Mountain Medical was the definite underdog. But the results totally flipped. The elite team learned slowly and was unhappy, while the underdog team learned incredibly fast and had high satisfaction. Why? Well, the difference came down to 5 key behaviors.
The successful leaders framed the whole thing as a learning mission, not a performance test. They kept reminding everyone why their specific role was vital. They encouraged people to speak up about mistakes, and they talked about how things went after every surgery. The crucial point wasn't about raw talent. It was all about creating an environment that was just flooded with these consistent signals of, hey, we're in this together and it's safe to learn.
Okay, so we've seen the why and the what, but how do you actually build one of these high-purpose environments? Well, our final case study gives us an amazing playbook for putting these ideas into practice.
We are heading to the hyper-competitive New York City restaurant world. It's a brutal business, a place where 80% of restaurants fail within 5 years. They just die. And yet one restaurateur, Danny Meyer, has opened 25 restaurants, and all but one have been massive successes. How does he do it? So after one big service screw-up early on, Meyer realized he needed a super clear system. And this is what he came up with. Now look what's at number 1. Colleagues. I mean, that's completely backwards, right? But he figured, hey, if I take care of my team first, they'll have the energy, the support to take amazing care of everyone else. This list became their guiding beacon.
Then he took these priorities and turned them into what he called heuristics, which is really just a fancy way of saying simple, memorable catchphrases that act like rules of thumb. For example, making the charitable assumption means you always assume the best intent from people. Skunking, I love that one. That's when someone sprays negativity all over the workplace. Not allowed. The point is, these aren't just cheesy slogans. They're simple instructions for how to act in really complex, unpredictable situations.
And believe it or not, this works just like a slime mold. Seriously, a slime mold has no brain, no central leader, yet thousands of individual cells can work together to solve a maze just by following a few simple rules. Meyer's catchphrases are basically the human version of that, creating this really sophisticated, coordinated behavior, all from simple, memorable signals. So from a corporate crisis to surgical teams to a restaurant empire, what does all this teach us about establishing purpose? Let's boil it all down to the key takeaways. Okay, here's what you really need to remember from all this. First off, purpose is not a mystery. It's a story that you constantly tell through small, consistent signals. Second, the very best signals are the ones that create that link between where we are right now and where we're trying to go. Third, never underestimate the power of simple catchphrases or heuristics to guide behavior. And finally, if you're a leader, your most important job is to be a relentless culture broadcaster, sending these signals over and over and over again.
And that leaves us with one final question to chew on for our own teams and our own organizations. In all the noise and chaos of the day-to-day, what's that one simple story that connects what you're doing right now to the future you're all trying to build together? What's the story that your people really need to hear?